made an emergency landing in the Quinnipac River. The plane is a Beechcraft Bonanza, single-engine, 6-passenger plane that was passing through the region. The plane's originated in Florida. Its last stop was in Woodbine, New Jersey, to get fuel, and it was headed towards New Bedford, Massachusetts. And there was an issue, there's an ongoing investigation that will occur, but it needed to make a landing in the region because of that issue on the plane. There were 2 adults and 1 dog on the plane, and the most important part of the story is everyone is safe. They were able to, when the plane landed, it actually landed in shallow water, and they actually were able to stand, and then a boat came out, picked them up, and brought them to shore. They're on scene, the 2 adults and the dog right now. State officials, including DEEP and the Coast Guard, New Haven Fire and Police Department are here as well, and other New Haven officials. The NTSB and FAA will conduct an investigation of what occurred. The folks are on their way. And it's also important to know this is partially the jurisdiction of the state as well. One of the primary concerns here is environmental now, because the plane has fuel in it, and this is a sensitive environmental area. There's a lot of oyster beds in the area. The Quinnipac River is a sensitive area. So the team is working to secure the plane, bring it to shore, and then bring it onto shore. So that's what's going on right now. I'm going to hand over to Rick Fontana, the city's Director of Emergency Operations, to give any details that I may have forgotten.
I think Mayor said it pretty well. Again, I think the important thing here is there was no injuries. Both individuals, along with a very large dog, Pet, was taken out of the aircraft, and then Good Samaritans brought them over to the yacht club. So I think, as the mayor did allude, our big concern here right now is the environmental impact. We're going to make sure that there are booms around the aircraft. We have sea tow here that will tow the aircraft to water that we can control it in, closer to land, where the investigation will begin. It looks like it was a mechanical issue. The individuals were flying at about 7,000 feet when they experienced a sputtering in the engine. Notified the Tweed Tower and were unable to make it back to the airport. But I think from my end, I think that those are the important things. I'll turn it over to Chief McCarthy on what the fire department is doing. They're the incident commander for this incident going forward, as well as on the law enforcement side. Officer Shumway can provide you with any law enforcement information.
Had they landed at Tweed? Were they flying out of Tweed?
No. They were flying from Woodbine, New Jersey to New Bedford, Massachusetts. So it didn't originate, or they weren't going to Tweed.
Okay. So the New Haven Fire Department received calls at about 5:20, as the mayor said, for a plane into the water in the Quinnipac River here, just north of the Grand Avenue Bridge. The plane landed successfully with all the occupants able to self-extricate. Our crews met them on land and were able to medically evaluate them. Other than being a little shaken up, there was no issues to them or the dog. Our focus, as Director Fontana said, is environmental impact. So we're ensuring that there's no fuel or oil leaking into the waterway right now. And we're currently working with DEEP, representatives from the FAA, Coast Guard, and a local company for moving the plane closer to shore, and they'll work with the investigators to take the next steps for that. So the fire department will remain on scene for quite a while tonight to ensure there's no further hazard, and our crews will be out in the water making sure that all the operation goes smoothly and safely.
Can you get it out of the water tonight? Get towed out?
So right now we aren't sure if it'll be removed from the water this evening. That's going to be based on the investigation and the ability to get, it's going to require a crane to lift it out. And we're working on that as we speak. So we don't have a timeline for removal from the water. We're working with the tide right now to make sure we can get it over to an area where we can work on it and get it up and out of the water.
Did the pilot say they were trying to land in the, like that was the goal when they knew that there was some sort of mechanical issue, the goal was to land?
Yeah, so he radioed the tower at Tweed saying that he was in distress, that the engine was sputtering. He radioed the tower at Tweed saying that he was in distress, that the engine was sputtering. He was receiving direction from the tower to try to get him to the airport, but he felt that he could not make it there, and he made a personal decision to try to take it down in the river.
Can you talk about just like how, I mean, obviously this could have been a very different situation, but just kind of miraculously that he was able to do that?
Obviously, it was a very difficult situation for him, and I think he made a very good decision, and he landed that plane in the river, which is not an easy thing to do. And so, obviously, he is a pretty skilled pilot. We don't know what brought that plane to have that sputter, and that is what the FAA just arrived on scene to try to figure out. That's an investigation that will take place. We're not going to have those answers tonight. All we're just happy about is that they're safe and that there were no injuries here, and it could have been something that was glad that it could have been avoided, and we're happy with the outcome.
Any flights have to be delayed or anything coming out of Tweed or anything?
No, because obviously we're far from the airport, and he was not originating from the airport, and he was not going to the airport, and so airport operations have continued on.
Can you release their names and the dog's name?
The names are not being released at this time.
Do you know how they know each other? Are they married? Are they siblings?
Not information that we can disclose at this
Is
time.
it two male adults or a male female?
Not released.
Male female.
Okay.
So when do you release the names?
It's an FAA investigation. NTSB is going to begin an investigation right now, and they are going to control this and work with local and state law enforcement to do that investigation. And at the time that they can release that, I'm sure that they'll do that.
And you were talking about fuel earlier. Any idea if there was any oil spill or any leakage from the plane yet?
Yeah, so our crews, the fire department crews, have been out there assessing the plane. It doesn't appear that there's any sheen or any type of fluids leaking out, so no oil, no fuel. We do know that there was about 40 or so gallons, maybe a little more, on the plane, and that's by calculations given us by the pilot. So that's what we're working with DEEP on right now, and we're working rather quickly to make sure that we can isolate the area around the plane to limit any impact to the environment.
So what is the crew doing right now out there?
The crew from the fire department?
Yeah, what are they doing to the plane right now?
So right now they're sizing up how they're going to actually, they're going to use some airbags to lift the plane up a little bit. Right now it's currently sitting on a sandbar area, so it's actually on land essentially. It's not sinking. We're going to lift it up a little bit, and they're going to use several boats to essentially shuttle it over to shore and raise it up onto the top of the water to keep everything intact and to isolate any issues that may arise. And we'll wrap the area around it with absorbent so that if anything does leak, we'll be able to catch it right away.
How deep do you need it to be with the tide?
So that's what we're assessing right now. We're just about at low tide right now. We're trying to get this underway prior to high tide is what we're working towards. So
When is high tide?
About 11:30ish, I believe, right now in that area. So we're in a pretty good situation as far as that goes. We have some time to work and try to get the plane up and keep it out of the water. So
how do you do that? I mean, I know the booms would catch the oil, but
they're going to tie off some large inflatable bags, essentially. They're 2,000 pounds each, and they'll actually use, they're used to actually float boats that sink, but they'll be used for this, and they'll raise the plane up a little bit to the surface of the water.
So is this like a special unit that's doing this, a dive team? Or?
So we're currently working with several units. We have Department of,
Energy Department.
Thank you. I always get it. DEEP, Connecticut DEEP is out there. We currently have members of CETO, which are specialized crews for moving boats. New Haven Fire Department and the United States Coast Guard are out there.
what does CETO stand for?
It's literally
CETO.
CETO, yeah. SEA, yeah.
When you said that the people that brought the passengers to land were bystanders and not first responders?
Correct. The Good Samaritans were able to get to them. They were actually standing up on the sandbar. Some Good Samaritans were able to get to them. Our crews assessed them as soon as they got to shore as our boat was being deployed out and up the river.
So no injuries at all?
No injuries at all.
They weren't transported to a hospital? Just
No, they did not need to be transported to a hospital. Other than being a little shaken up, they've reported no injuries whatsoever.
Are they still here? They got to be interviewed by various officials?
Yeah, they're going to go through a process with the investigators.
And can you see your name, please, and spell it?
Yep, Assistant Chief Justin McCarthy, Justin McCarthy.
Can you spell your name as well?
Yep, it's SEANSCANLON. Sean Scanlon. I'm the Executive Director of Tweed New Haven Airport.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Chief.
Got it. Oh, man, being in your 30s is rough. Only about it.
Have a place to rescue.
Oh, and we're not expecting any more updates for tonight at all?
Not at this time.
No pressers or anything. And then if the FAA tries to do something, will we get like an email or something to?
Great question. If we find that there's something that needs to be reported, we will then put something together.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, because we're going to be
Yeah. If there's something that comes up that's significant for the incident.
Seeing the press conference.
All right, great.
Rolling on it, right?
Yeah. So rolling on the east side of the Quinnipac River.
Okay. I just double. Okay. All right, cool. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, it's actually, I don't want to say it's actually lower ground. I mean, that is literally, outside of the channel, you've only got at low tide maybe 1 or 2 feet of water. That's it. Low tide is at 114, so we've got some time.
Well, I'm not close to the car right now as far as the video.
So high tide is at 114.
Okay.
Yeah. So next high tide is next high tide 1:14 a.m. This doesn't lie.
You guys have time.
Yeah, we have time. And CETO operates those boats. This is something different. This is how they go.
Yeah.
But they have the tools. They have the airbags, and we'll get this aircraft to move over there, and likely it will not be removed from the water. But we have barges in the river where we can literally